What is going on, everybody? Bobby Fi and Eric Sheets-Haber. We're going to be talking through this 4-game early slate. I guess I'll start off by just talking about. I thought I was going to win the showdown yesterday. The lottery yesterday for the early slate. Eighth inning, the bottom of the eighth inning home run from Corbin Carroll made it not so. I was in first place with the last spot, so it was a little disappointing. Had a mediocre NBA night, and that's where I'm at. Sheets, how are you doing?
I actually had a swipe or two in the lottery in the night slate. I ended up getting like fourth or something.
Oh.
I had like all kinds of Detroit, Colorado stuff, and so I had a couple of swipes. I made a couple of thousand, which is good. Nice. I thought you were going to win the ball four. You had all the Friedel with the 2 home runs.
I know.
I thought
that was the late slate. The early slate, I was really like, I still finished 6th or whatever, but
did you? Okay.
It was literally like 2 innings left, and I had all the PMR, and they had none of it. I just didn't happen to have Corbin Carroll hit the home run.
Oh, that was that slate. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a different slate. But the second slate, I the ball 4 out to a good start. I don't think I cashed in there. Yeah, baseball night slate was not good to me, and I'm going to do my thing again where I know it's the anti-Sheets play, so I'm going to do the no 5-man stacks on these 4 gamers just all season long. I don't think I'm ever going to have it.
Hang on, before we get into that.
Yeah.
How about the New York Knickerbockers?
Yeah. Okay. What is going on, man? I mean, this is some craziness. Okay, let's talk about it because that was so all season long. There were 5 games where a team with 98.8% or better lost,
and now it's like every day.
There was 4 consecutive in this round of the playoffs. That's unbelievable. And I mean, what the? And bizarrely, they're still underdogs in the series.
I was going to say it's probably pick them for the series, right?
Yeah, they're slight underdogs actually.
Yeah, that seems to make sense.
Yeah.
But that was another one that I was like watching other stuff. I was watching TV with Stacy, and the game was over again. You know what I mean? Like the game was over, and then I went to check. Like, what? Huh? How? So there was that, and then it's to the point where when OKC was up by 40, I didn't think the game was over. You know, it's like I mean, it turns out it was, but these teams aren't closing out, and it's a little bizarre.
Yeah, it's really weird.
But yeah, so we have 2 kind of equally compact slates today. We got a 4-game. Was it 5 later or something?
I think 4.
Oh, okay, all right. And
maybe it is 5. I did some early builds. I think I should know this, but I guess that yeah, it's 4.
Well, in the early slate, what is it like? Ober and Bubic? That's the story.
It appears to be. I'm still rerunning stuff with the guys in because when I tried to build, it was like hours and hours ago. So I haven't rebuilt since then. And let's see real quick.
I mean, just with like who's looks the best. You know what I mean? Like it looks to me like those 2 are the best, and it looks like I guess Kansas City again, right? And that's the chalk, right? I mean, Minnesota.
By the way, they're winning games for us, but this literally never works. Like if they're chalk, they score like 3 runs.
And you know what? When they're low, they score 3 runs also.
Fair enough.
They don't really score a lot of runs.
I need 1 more to get through on the Survivor.
Yeah, I guess it's KC, but as far as the stacks go, it looks like KC, Texas, and Detroit. But they're all going to be owned. I have Texas of those, like the lowest owned of those 3, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
What do you like? And we'll run stuff, but what do you like? Just staring at it. Like if we didn't have an optimizer, like who would you like?
I find it a little bit odd that KC would be more popular than Detroit. Just me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It seems.
I agree with your befuddlement. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a little surprising to me. I'm not sure I totally buy that, but that's what it says. And Detroit did come out with not exactly their A+ lineup, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. And I get it that Freeland, I'm sort of speaking out of both sides of my mouth because I always say that Freeland's like slightly better at preventing like the monster damage. Now he's had some bad ones this year for sure, more than in years past, but I'm not taking that stance anymore with him. But it is not like this is not an A+ lineup. You've got significant pinch hit risk for at least 3 players from Detroit. So I guess maybe that's why. But I was a little surprised when I looked at when I'm looking at the ownership that it seems to be all going towards the the KC side, and I'm very happy. As I mentioned, I'm not going to be doing the 5-man stacks at all, so I'm not going to say I won't have some 4-mans from Kansas City. I just think that there's other things to do, and Boston seems every bit as good as these other ones to me. So if Boston, you tell me you're going to slightly lower ownership, that makes some sense. But if you want to get different, I think you could take shots against Bello with the Rangers. I think you could play the Rockies. And I don't think the Rockies are going to have a ton of ownership for considering it's a 4-game slate and only 3 players projected in double digits. So that's sort of what I'm thinking of as my contrarian stacks.
Yeah. So I see what you just said. The Detroit lineups came in, and they're, it's much different actually than what I had projected. So, but unfortunately, I'm not going to redo the projections. What I usually do is when I build, I just replace the ones that are out with like the SaberSim ones. That's just the way.
Yeah.
That's a little lazy, but that's what it is. I mean, maybe Goldie will do a whole new set. It's possible. So if that's the case, I would definitely rely on his instead of mine.
Or you always have SaberSim, just everybody out there.
Or SaberSims as well. Yeah. It's even better. So I have. So I'm going to rerun it right now. So from a construction perspective, let's talk about this a little bit. So you pre-build, you ran you X'd out, or was it post-build? You X'd out all 5-man stacks, or just 5-man stacks from all 5-man stacks for all teams?
Yeah, and I was ready to feel like a genius yesterday for almost winning the lottery with a 3-2-1-1-1.
Oh wow!
Right. I mean, that's what you end up getting sometimes when you play. Yeah. But I also did yesterday. I put a minimum of 22% or whatever it was on Soto, and he hit the 2 home runs. So it was a little. But I'll do that. I'll take shots, and that's the other thing I'm doing today a little bit. Like, you look at this, if there's a player with a significantly higher chance to hit a home run or steal a base or both, like in Bobby Witt's case, I'm going to give those guys an edge, because you can win with like. I mean, I've won tournaments before with like where my stack scored 0 runs, because on these 4 gamers, you just get the 2 guys who hit the 2 home runs or whatever. Now those guys are going to be owned, so it's not a great example, maybe using them. But in general, if you find that those high upside bats, I do find myself looking for more like one-offs and things like that. Unfortunately, the one-offs I like here are a little bit chalkier, but hey, I'm going to be the one playing them without a 5-man to go with. So at least I'm getting a little bit different. What SaberSim wanted me to do early on was to play every bit of the White Sox, as they do every single day.
They do, don't they? They really like that.
Against Bubic. And you know what? Like, it's a small enough slate where I really don't think that there's anything you could do that's like quote unquote wrong. If you're saying like, okay, who's the high, like an offense that's been terrible, let everybody down, been awful all year long, maybe they can get something going here. Maybe Baltimore against Ober. That seems a little more appealing, because they at least have real major league players versus the White Sox, who have like 1.5 major league players. That's just where I'm at.
I'll tell you what I talked about. What was I forget which day it was. There was one day where neither of us we were here on different time slots, and what I was talking about is when I run the SaberSim stuff, and then I just first rate by SaberScore, and then I rate by the Sims. What I like to see, and I don't know why I like this, but I like it when it changes, right? Your exposures after you run the Sims, but instead of just always getting the big leverage against the best pitcher, I kind of like it when you get to stacks that are just have nothing to do with any of it. You know what I mean? Like the stacks that are not the top owned stacks that look the best, and also not the ones that are direct leverage against the top pitchers. Just kind of like random, like let's just say you would get, I don't know, like Texas today or something like that. You know what I mean? Where they're not exactly the top stack, and they're not exactly leveraged off the top pitcher also. So I kind of it feels a little better like when I get that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I just reran things again with some stuff, and I'm still getting Bubic and Ober, but you know who I'm getting a lot of, by the way, and this is kind of interesting with me speaking of weak lineups. So they're giving me a lot of Kyle Freeland.
Ooh, and here we go. And now we're playing, huh?
Yeah, I guess we're doing something.
Yeah, we're doing
a lot
something.
of Kyle Freeland, and Yeah, they're giving me more Kyle Freeland than it's wild, more than Ober. And they are, in fact, let me go to my team stacks. Baltimore 61%.
So
Because,
my current exposures right now are my top owned stack are actually the Tigers.
Yep.
And then Colorado. And then actually the team you mentioned in Baltimore. Like those are my three. And I wonder what the pitching I'm getting. Let's see if I'm going off the board. Ooh,
because those are very chalky. That's a very chalky stat.
As discussed, my highest owned pitcher is Brian Bello.
Okay.
That's what I see. That's why I like to hear. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Like it's not like it's like, boy, yeah, I guess. You know, those are the guys I like to play. Okay, I guess. Not like, oof, that's brutal, but I see why. This is actually, yeah, I forgot about him. He's pitching. Yeah, sure, why not? You know. So, so I got that, and then actually the Bubic and the over. So I guess I am a little bit chalky today. It just kind of is what it is.
Yeah, it's a weird. So we have I'm just double checking the Texas lineup because there's a few things that were different than I thought. Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty weak Texas line. I mean, no Seager is always a good thing for the opposing pitcher.
Right.
And they've been, they've really let down this season as a whole. Now they are insanely cheap. If you did, I don't know what you need it for, but if you did want to play the Tigers, I guess with Texas. But yeah, I don't mind the Bello idea. I'm just going to take a double quick look.
It's not even an idea. You know what I mean? It's just like this is just what happened. You know?
Yeah. So you've got. I mean, honestly, it's really not that big of a difference after you get past Ober, who, I mean, oddly enough, Bubic is it's because he's facing the White Sox, but Ober's like strikeout prop is significantly higher than everybody else's. Everybody else is like in the same range. And I hate to just say play whoever you want, but this does feel like the play whoever you want slate. Now, what I want to do in my higher buy-in is probably come up with some sort of either Colorado, Texas, or, and again, they're going to be my low buy-ins too, but maybe just take a shot against Ober with Baltimore because I think that is going to be super low owned. And again, I'm not 5-man stacking, so I can pick out some bats that I like. The bats, for what it's worth, that I did put a minimum exposure on today. Jarren Duran, and then Bobby Witt and Byron Buxton are the other ones. What do you think? Are you not? Why isn't any? I guess it's just because we have these other ones. But like, what's so bad about the Twins here today?
Nothing. I you know what? I was getting a bunch of them the last couple of days. But unfortunately, the answers about what's so bad, I don't really have an answer. You know, it's
right.
Just baseball, and I put the projection, I run my stuff, and if I got the Twins, I'd be like, okay, cool, chilled, whatever. But just not. There's certainly nothing wrong with them. If you listen, depends what projections you use. So if you use different projections, you get to Minnesota. I'm not going to say what's a terrible play. It's
right.
like,
yeah, I think it's. I mean, I just think that the low ownership against Kramer, like who's been pretty awful outside of his last start all season long, seems like something we could do. I'm into that a little bit. Maybe getting a little bit more exposure to this first game, just because I think that it's just going to be the lowest owned significant.
See, that's the thing. Like I think that people are gonna want to just go away from my Kansas City, Detroit, Colorado.
Yeah.
And maybe, like you said, maybe you need to put a number on the board.
Yeah, and I'm going to try and rebuild here and make sure I have a little bit of some of these things going, and I'm going to end up with some funky looking lineups. But I'm telling you, it works on these slates sometimes. It really does. I've had a lot of success in the past with this stuff. Not 5-man stacking, even hand building back in the day. All right, let's do that, and then I'm going to rebuild a little bit in 1 second. And yeah, I'm surprised that SaberSim is not giving you all the White Sox because they're trying to give it to me.
Well, that's the nature of it. Just when you think you can analyze the mood of SaberSim, then they throw you a curveball. Okay, so this is how I'm going to tell you how sensitive like baseball projections are and all this stuff. So I made one change in in my projections just now. See, what I did was when I changed the Tigers projections, I changed the point projections to Saber Sims or whatever. But I got lazy. I just didn't change the ownerships. You know what I mean? I just left on my own and I did whatever. And I just made one change. All I did was I reset the Detroit ownerships to the Saber Sim ownerships, kept everything else from every team the same, just ran completely the Sims the same way, everything the same, and now I have 72% Baltimore.
Ooh, okay.
And 6% Detroit.
Okay.
You know, where before I had 60% Detroit and Baltimore wasn't even on the slate. So and pitching wise now I'm getting Bubic is the highest owned, followed by Bello, followed by and here's one we didn't talk about, followed by Casey Mize.
Yeah, I think he makes a lot of sense. I think he's going to be pretty popular.
Followed by Kyle Freeland. Thank you.
And I want to just enforce, because we talk on these shows a lot, and people come in a lot of times and say, "Oh, this doesn't look like a good lineup," or "This is not a good play," and I'm like, "Well, that you don't want the good plays on these 4-game slates. You don't want to play the team that looks the best. If it looks the best, do not play it. That's my it's in baseball, it's just completely wrong to do that. Basketball, different story, totally different story. But baseball, it is the wrong thing to do. So I don't think you care about how a lineup looks or anything like that on these slates. You actually the name of the game is trying to find a way to get different and low ownership. Obviously you'd like to have both, but you can't. And baseball is just such a high variance game. You really, really should focus on that. I mean, we use golf as an example sometimes, but nothing's like baseball. I mean, you have baseball where the worst hitter in the actual league will be the highest scoring player, probably at least once or twice during the season, or one of the worst hitters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just can happen. It's just, whereas it's not like, I don't know, Joel Domin is, well, actually, that's maybe a bad example. But he's not going to win the Masters most likely, but something like that. That's what I just reran, and I am going to run the Sims again. Yeah. Okay. So I'm getting to now, I'm at, again, my stacks are not full stacks, so there's going to be a high percentage of a lot of them. 56% Baltimore, 40% Colorado, 30% White Sox, 30% Texas, 27% Minnesota, 23% Boston. But now, what types of stacks am I getting is an interesting question. Mostly 4-2s, 4-3s, some 3-2-2s, some 3-3-2s, and then a couple of 2-2-2-2s.
Now, this doesn't apply because there's no really FanDuel early slate. But do you do the same stuff with FanDuel?
I say that one time? Oh, I didn't play. I don't play on FanDuel. No, so that's a good question. But because I did build for the later slate. No, I don't. All I did was cross off the 4-4.
Okay.
But just the 4-4.
Well, it's so interesting because when I run FanDuel just projections without telling you what to do, I get actually more 4-3s than 4-4s for some reason.
I think that makes sense, though. Partly, I think the reason you're getting that, though, is probably because your pitcher is being used in some of those situations.
Oh, okay.
You need to have 3 different teams. You can't use your pitcher and 4 hitters from that team and then 4 other hitters.
That makes sense. Okay.
So that's probably.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And Adam Perry was telling me that what's his name? That's not SaberSim. Yeah, SaberSim really likes to do that correlation with pitchers and
stacks. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's that big. I mean,
I think on FanDuel on like medium slates, it really matters.
Okay.
Because look, you got a guy pitching with a 5-6 run lead. It's so easy for him, and also you want the quality start in the win over there, and
that's true.
For error, and there's all that stuff. But on DraftKings, I don't think it matters as much. Although I would always slightly prefer it, but it's not like it's not a huge deal. Let me just make sure I don't get.
So here's what I'm doing. So because that one change in the Tigers caused so much stress, I actually, and again, just to test this stuff, I'm running a whole new set of projections with the new Tiger stuff, and let me see if that should normalize it. So that should really give me the answer that I want here. So let me just run this again and see what I would get. And again, I'm not making any changes or anything like that to stacks. I'm just Just getting what I'm getting.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see what I got. Probably going to be something even more different. Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think is going to? I think they're going to be the same. I was going to ask who do you think is going to be higher owned between Ober and Bubic. I think it's going to be the same.
Honestly, I think it's going to be Bubic just because there's still casual people who play, and they're just going to see the White Sox and for it. And the Orioles still they have talent. Actually, a lot of their guys aren't playing today, but a lot of everybody's guys aren't playing today. Literally every team is. None of these lineups is anybody's A+ lineup. This is a Thursday getaway day. That's what happens when you get the early games on Thursday. You know that means that you're getting at least 2 of your best hitters usually not playing. Just always happens that way.
So the NBA tonight is only a one game, right?
Yeah, but by the way, let's talk about it. I feel like everybody's talking about, and I'm good for Indiana and crazy comebacks and all the things, unbelievable actually. But it is kind of like I feel like no one's talking about the fact that Cleveland's whole team has been missing. Garland being in the first game, and then 3 of their top 6 in the second game. It's not like, and they still should have won that game. They were up by whatever, 1 million, and then they were up late by 7.
Is Garland they just going to rule him out for the whole playoffs yet or no?
I don't know. It's a toe, man. I don't know. To me, that seemed very fishy to me. If it's a toe, you should be able to at least pretend to be playing, so you have a threat, especially after you lose the first game.
That's what he's doing. He is pretending to be playing.
No, but he didn't though. No, I don't mean.
I thought you meant. No, I
mean for the opponents. Have him go out there and play a few minutes. It's not like he's not able to walk. It's a toe. Even if it's an illness, like Porzingis has right now. By the way, that's going to be the tournament play of all tournament plays in the next game. Porzingis is going to go nuts. That's my prediction.
Okay. I hope you're happy. By the way.
What?
So you finally got what you wanted. I made enough changes, then now you finally got what you wanted. So now I have 83% White Sox. You know what I mean? You ask enough times,
it's just going to force you into it.
Then then it's like, thank you, sir. May I have another? So,
oh God,
I just don't think that's going to happen. To figure out what I want to do here. Baseball's rough when you have savers. It really is. It really is.
And I just want to say one thing though. I actually don't think you can be profitable long-term playing Detroit as a stack today. Hold on. Maybe I should change my tune a little bit because they're not going to be I don't know how you're profitable. If you max enter, I think you can be. Unless you're max entering, I really don't know how you're supposed to be competitive with a 5-man stack where everybody's 20+% owned. I just don't see how it gets there. It's so hard to thread that needle. It's such a
that's the thing. I mean, you have to be perfect, and baseball's it's the hardest sport to be perfect.
So that's why I would just almost just forget about it. You know what I mean? Again, I might end up with a 4-man because I'm doing something that at least that gets me a little different. But I just think if you're playing 5-mans of Detroit or Kansas City, unless you unless you're late swapping and early on you have all of your guys, you have the nuts so far, then I can see switching on to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it would take something like that. It's just so hard to thread that needle and get that right. That's just my 2 cents.
Maybe you should live with the 83% White Sox.
I mean, I'm leaving my 30 some odd percent. Let me just make sure it's not the highest. I mean, look at the type of stacks that I have for the White Sox. So let's see if the 4-mans I have. 12% White Sox. I'd rather, if I played the White Sox, I'd rather keep them as the 2 and the 3-man stacks. Right. that would make me feel a little bit better, at least. All right, let's get this down a little bit. I'm really trying to get less of the White Sox, but I mean, look, this is not Cole Reagan's. That's one thing.
No, it's not.
And the White Sox, they did bring up that young guy who's been good since he came up.
Who? Caro, that guy? No,
the leadoff guy.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I mean, good in this good is a very weird.
Being able to, survive.
He had fantasy points multiple times.
There you go. That's something.
And he's 2,900. Miguel Vargas was once a prospect for the Dodgers. That's you got that.
There you go. That's something.
You have a nice little Luis Robert and Andrew Vaughn is. I don't know what happened. I really was wrong about this guy. I thought he would hit 30 home runs someday. Maybe he still will someday in the major leagues, but I don't know if it's going to be any day soon. He's been one of the worst hitters in baseball, only competing with Jock Peterson, who's finally coming out of it a little bit.
Whatever happened with the torpedo bat thing, by the way?
You know what? Good question, Sheets. Like
It just kind of disappeared. That's it.
But there's people using it still. What happens? This is what happens we're so flooded with information all the time that things just sort of get swept aside. And one person in particular knows how to take terrific advantage of that. And I think you know who I'm talking about. I mean, in the world, he takes advantage of everyone having a very short memory because there's just too much. The information cycle is just too rapid. I thought that you'd get kicked out of that. I said I was wrong. I'll deal with it. What did you end up with for golf, by the way? Let's talk a little golf.
Let me just finish the baseball, and then I will.
Okay.
Then I will do this. Yeah. So we're not going to do anything with the stacks. We're just going to let it build, and then I'm just going to probably just like let it fly. And then I'll check to see. I did a couple of different iterations of the golf. You know what? I'll pull it up right now. I'll let you know what my exposures are. This is literally the first time I'm looking at it. Because I think I got off of more of the Morikawa and I went to more of the McIlroy at the end of the day. I did end up with more Boccia than I originally had, but not overwhelmingly. So yeah, McIlroy, Connors, Henley, Pendrith, but nobody over 35%. If that means anything.
Yeah, I played enough lineups. To me, it's a little bit of a symptom of how, like, because there was the mini max this week and the $5 I maxed out. You know, so like if I was just playing like 75 lineups, I probably would have had like 45% of some guys.
Oh wait, that's total. Wait, I include the showdown in there. Let me just look at the classic. Hold on. Classic. Oh, I did. I can't believe I ended up doing this. I ended up with like 48% McIlroy. That's not my thing, but that's what I ended up with in the classic somehow. And then.
You're probably fine. He's probably top 5.
No, I'm sure I'm fine, but it's just kind of a weird.
What did he end up owning? He probably ended up around 40-something%.
I imagine so. Well, the good news is my new iteration of these baseball lineups have just all kinds of Bobby stacks, like littered throughout here.
Love it.
I got like 4 2s, 3 3s. You know what I mean? I like just all kinds of craziness. And White Sox, Baltimore, Colorado, Boston. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, I'm highest on, like, again, I don't love this, but I think the right thing is to get different. So I'm highest on Baltimore as a stack, but I did mention it's Baltimore, which means I can play some Detroit. Again, no 5-mans, but obviously no 5-mans for anybody. But the guys who have, like, I'm getting like a lot of the Duran, Buxton, like Bobby Witt one-offs as along with, again, you take these stolen base home run guys, I think, on these slates, just because you might win like 20. Nobody might get more than 15 or 20 fantasy points. You know, it's totally possible. It's a 4-game slate. It doesn't need to happen.
I have 10% of my stacks are 5-mans.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, my stack exposure with them 26% 4 2s, and then 13% 3 3s.
3 3s, okay.
And then just all kinds of litter throughout, whatever. Like the 3 2. That's always live to do nothing. But you know what's cool is that we'll see what I have. You know, Baltimore. If some of my Baltimore, Minnesota guys start to go doing some good stuff, I might have to adjust that. Maybe I'll want some more chalky kind of stacky stuff. But we'll see. Maybe that's not the way to do it. Like if I have like a Baltimore like Minnesota game and where I'm going off, does that mean I want to have more stacks or less stacks later?
Wait, well, I think you can play it. It'll just decide to play the best plays for you. I ran into this issue last night though, and I believe in the late swapping, and I let it take care of it for me because I already had missed on some of the early stuff, and Hunter Green got hurt, even though he put up a decent number. But so in my 555, so I late swapped, but it took me off of the Colorado stack, which I actually had the right part of the Colorado stack, and it took me into like a 3-2. So my lineup ended up started off as a 5-3. Ended up as a 3-3-2 because of what Saberson gave me, which is just kind of weird. All right, let's see what else. My golf, I ended up with my highest owned were Fleetwood, Xander, and Oberg, and I am well under on the Rory just because it's golf, and I'm trying to get different.
Who's in your big buy-in?
My big buy-ins were sort of similar to what we went through on our thing. I've got one with I played two. I've got one with Morikawa, Xander, Berger, Pendrith, but then I've got Michael Kim and Lucas Glover. And then on my other one, I have Thigala, Bridgman on the cheap end, and then I have Lowry, Hovland, Fleetwood, Oberg.
Yeah, so I like this actually. So my in the lottery, my highest owned guy is Rory, but I do not have him in big buy-ins. That I actually like. So in the big buy-ins, I have Morikawa and Thomas together, and then Sungjae M, and then Aaron Rai, Michael Kim, like you mentioned, and Junior Bridgman.
Yeah, they didn't like the Kim, huh? Nobody liked him. He ended up like half the ownership of
9% in the signature hole. It looks like.
Yeah, I see that. I see that one.
Let me see. Do you do the single entries at all or no?
I am currently winning 50K on FanDuel, but
let's go.
I've got all the guys tied in first place right now.
There it is. In the single entry, who did I play in the single entry there? In the single entry on DraftKings, again, no Rory. I did again Morikawa and Thomas together. That seems to be the deal. And then I played Burns. Denny McCarthy's off to a good start at -3. Yeah. Then JT Poston and the aforementioned Ryan Gerard.
Yeah, he was another one I was pretty decent on. And my sneaky take though by the end of it was that I think Thigala maybe has a chance to really compete in this thing, because I just felt like when you get him under 7K and it's a no cut too. Like I'm not, we'll see what happens. There's only one guy I'm worried about withdrawing, and that would be Hideki.
Right.
But I basically got over on everybody else who's expensive because I didn't play. I only have like 16%. 17%.
Well, this is kind of interesting. So in the signature hole, that's the 555. Everybody, Morikawa and Justin Thomas are both 24%.
JT ended up and I'm way under on him too.
And however, in the biggest single entry, the driver, JT is 27 and Colin Morikawa is only 15. Very, very interesting.
JT is 27. That is weird.
Yeah.
It's stranger because it should be flipped, if anything, because if anything, you have the much more what's it called? Safer play in Morikawa than you do.
Yeah, I guess the Thomas is the darling this week, I guess.
Yep. I'm glad I'm underneath weight. We'll see what happens, but I just didn't want to, glad I got a little bit.
Let me see if I'm cashing for 50K in FanDuel. Let me see. I am cashing for $439. So
okay, well then you're dead.
I'm dead. I'm dead.
Every golf tournament
in my big buy-in over there, I'll just get into that. I have pretty low owned for FanDuel. So I have Morikawa, he's the highest owned at 25%. But then I have Fleetwood is only 10% over there. And then Burns again, Aaron Rai, 16 and 15%. Andrew Novak, I know you liked him. He's at 14%. And then Eric with a C. Cole, who's by the way -2 through 4 holes. Okay.
And now I'm making $339.
Oh, there it is.
By the way, but it's funny because so on FanDuel, look, it's worked every week, but it hasn't hit a big thing. It's just been like profitable every week. All I've done is change the projections on our plays, and so far it's been profitable. We just need to hit the big home run one of these times.
Yeah.
I just put minimum of like 20% of most of those guys, except for a couple of them. I put like 15% over there.
Yeah.
Even though we're using the DraftKings salary, but it's golf. It doesn't matter.
So just a couple of announcements if anybody's interested in listening. So I'm going to be putting up the MMA video today, the DFS video. Tomorrow I'm going to do another one. I'm going to do the betting breakdown and also the lineup construction video, either that or Saturday morning. We have NASCAR stuff coming up this weekend. There's nothing tomorrow. I think the trucks and everything is on Saturday. I'm gonna try to put up showdown projections most days. Sunday, well, actually Saturday, interesting Saturday. I'm actually going to Game 3 of the Knicks Celtics.
Oh, awesome.
Yep. So I'm going to that. So I won't be around really for.
Well, I'm going to call.
You guys don't need me for too much Saturday during the day anyway. And then
I'm going to win that tournament then. Oh, I got to play Saturday, that means, because I always win when you're at one of the games.
It's true.
Well, only like if you're at the basketball games. Not baseball.
And then Sunday is Mother's Day. I lost my mom. Stacy lost her mom, so it's a rough day. But we got that, so I probably won't be around too much. We're going to the city for that, and that's pretty much it.
That's a carry. Yeah, I'll be off this weekend. I'm actually away at a memorial as well.
Oh yeah, you didn't tell me about that.
Sure. But it is,
I was about to ask if it's a family member, but like that's kind of like it's assumed already because it's everybody's in Bobby's family.
But the thing is, a lot of them not actually family. I
know, but
sometimes who is in my family because we grew up together. But yeah, it's just something to deal with.
Yep. All right, I will see you at about 5:30.
Yeah, sounds good. 5:30 sounds good.
All right, sounds good.
All right, take it easy, man. Good luck.